Earlier, we're going to start with introductory statements. We're going to start with Mr. Gary McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy is a 30-year veteran of public safety. Gary McCarthy was the police director for Newark, New Jersey, and deputy commissioner of operations for the New York City Police Department, prior to being the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department from 2011 through 2015. Please welcome Mr. McCarthy. And Harsh, could you please, I'm going to welcome the candidates to come to the podium to give their introductory statement. Harsh, could you raise your hand for me? He's going to help us with the time. He'll raise his hand when there's 30 seconds left, so you guys have a sense of how much time is left. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for hosting this today. My name is Gary McCarthy, as mentioned. I'm a 35-year veteran of police service. Born and raised in New York City, worked my way up through the ranks in the NYPD. I ran New York's crime strategy for 7 years as a deputy commissioner of operations. From there, I went to Newark, New Jersey. I worked for a fellow named Cory Booker that you may have heard of. He's now running for president. And then from there, I came here as a police superintendent. During my tenure, we had the two lowest back-to-back years in the murder rate since 1965 in the city of Chicago. Crime rate was down about 40%. Complaints against officers were down, as were police-related shootings. And the way we achieved that is through business management in policing, looking at the systems, the inputs and the outputs that we were trying to produce. That's what I'm going to bring to city government here. We've got to stop doing things that we have been doing in Chicago forever. Everything here is about the politics. Everything here is corrupted by the dirty politics in the Chicago way. We're seeing this play out in the newspapers virtually every single day. I want you to realize that the FBI has 18,000 recorded conversations from a wire that an alderman was wearing. I assure you that there will be many more arrests coming because the FBI does not play. That corruption is infecting everything that happens in Chicago, whether it's the gun violence, the economy, or the taxes, the school system. That is at the heart of what we need to get rid of if we're going to turn this city around. So I ask for your vote for honesty and integrity. I'm not part of the Chicago machine, as many of us here today are not. Are or not, depending on who you're talking about. But I want you all to remember who's here today and who's not here, because we want to anoint a mayor in Chicago instead of elect one. Do not let it happen, please, folks. Do not let it happen, because this is the most critical election in the history of Chicago. Thank you so much for being here.
Sorry about that, Mr. McCarthy. I'd taken notes from someone else on the 30. Didn't mean to take 5 years away from you there. So sorry about that. Thank you for...
Sorry, I can't hear you over the lights.
Next, we're going to have Mr. Paul Vallis. Paul Vallis has served in the City of Chicago government as Revenue Director, Budget Director, and CEO of the Chicago Public Schools. He then became the Superintendent for Philadelphia Public Schools, Recovery School District of New Orleans, and Bridgeport, Connecticut. He resigned from his position as Chief Administrative Officer of Chicago State University to run for Chicago Mayor. He had previously run in the primary for Governor of Illinois in 2002. Please welcome Mr. Vallis.
Well, thank you. It's great to be back here at Taft. I remember putting the IB program in. You all remember, nobody wanted to go to Taft. They wanted to build a new high school. On the north side, of course, I put a high school in every region and put 18 IB programs in neighborhood high schools. And now they want to build a second Taft. What can you say about that? Give yourselves a round of applause. And your marvelous spokesman is there in the back. Stand up, 5 years, surviving. You've survived longer than 4 superintendents in Chicago Public Schools. Or I should say CEO. I'm running for mayor because I'm a public servant. There are 6 veterans in my family, there are 4 cops, there are 3 firefighters, there are 1, soon to be 2, there are 4 police officers, 1, soon to be 2 firefighters, and 1 airline pilot, my niece. But this is everything that I have always done. The grandson of Greek American immigrants who grew up in the Roseland community, attended 3 public schools. I'm running because the city, for 3 reasons. One is the city's in an extraordinary financial crisis, and it's an ongoing financial crisis, and pay-to-play has a lot to do with that. Second, I'm running because we are a tale of 2 cities. And third, I'm running because the pay-to-play culture here is strangling the city of its economic vitality and destroying the city's international reputation. I balanced 17 multi-billion-dollar budgets in 4 different states in their largest school districts, and I've done massive rebuilding projects in 2 countries, Haiti after the earthquake and Chile after the earthquake, and spent 1.5 years working for the Justice Department on prison reform. The bottom line is I've been problem solving all my life, and the next mayor is going to have to be somebody who can take the $20 billion that the city receives every year and allocate the resources in a way that can not only structurally balance the budget, but can invest in the critical services that we need, like public safety, like economic development, like infrastructure, like transportation, etc., while at the same time making sure that the city remains affordable. I'm running for mayor because we are the tale of 2 cities. Development has only occurred in 10 wards. Two of those wards have half the development. 80% of the city, no development. Some of the areas on the west side and the south side, they look like third world countries in terms of the absence of economic opportunities. And having been someone who's been to Port-au-Prince, Haiti 40 times, I know what a third world country looks like. My entire life has been about providing equal opportunities. I've done $7 billion in school construction in 4 cities, and 80% of those schools have been built in the poorest communities. And many of you here remember my MBEW meeting where I allocated over 54% of all construction contracts to minority and women-owned businesses, and 58% of those hired were people from the community. That's $1.8 billion. Imagine what I could do investing $20 billion and just not $3.2 billion over 6 years. And finally, I'm running to end the pay-to-play culture. I pulled the construction projects out of the Public Building Commission. I put magnet schools in every single neighborhood. I put IB programs on the west side and on the south side. I ran against Robert Blorich. And none of the named candidates that Gary and others were referring to endorsed me. They all endorsed somebody else. He went to jail, I went to Philadelphia. People who are part of the pay-to-play culture are not individuals who go to New Orleans after Katrina and Haiti after the earthquake. My entire career has been one of public service, uncompromising public service committed to the community. So I welcome this debate. It's great to be back here at Taft. It's great to be back here in the Indian American community again, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Vallis. Next, we're going to have Ms. Amara Enya. Ms. Enya is a director of the Austin Chamber of Commerce. She's also was a public policy analyst in the mayor's office from 2008 through 2011. Ms. Enya.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, it's really quiet here. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It is a great privilege and honor to be able to stand before you today and to share a vision for the city of Chicago. I am running for mayor of Chicago as someone who has been committed to lifting up the voices of Chicagoans. I've worked in public policy. I've worked at the top levels of government in every policy area. Everything from education to violence prevention. I did a lot of work in housing and food security, basically all of the things that affect our day-to-day lives. I then led a number of nonprofits as an executive, the executive director of a comprehensive nonprofit on the west side of Chicago, and I currently serve as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, where I work extensively with the business community at the city and state level. I'm an organizer by passion, because there must be a connection between policy and those who are affected by policy in the city. And for far too long, we have seen a disconnect between the policy decision makers and those of us who are living with the results of those policies. My background is in education. I have a PhD in education policy studies. I also have a master's in education, and I'm a lawyer. And I've used my background and my experience to advocate on behalf of the people of this city, because for far too long, we have had government that has not worked for all of us. It has worked for some. We see the benefits of development in the central business district, but we also see neighborhoods that are struggling. This is our opportunity as a city to move the city forward together where all of our neighborhoods can thrive. I come from an immigrant family from Nigeria, and when my parents came to this country with 6 children, they wanted to make sure that we can get into good public schools. They wanted to make sure that we could actually get jobs. They wanted us to start our own businesses. I didn't do that, but they wanted at least the opportunity to do that. My campaign represents a push to have opportunities for all of us in the city so that we can truly have the kind of city that we deserve. I look forward to sharing my vision with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we're going to have Bob Fioretti. Mr. Fioretti is a law partner at Roth Fioretti LLC. He was the alderman for Chicago's 2nd Ward from 2007 through 2015. He's a previous candidate for Chicago Mayor, Cook County Board President, and State Senate positions. Mr. Fioretti.
And thank you, everybody, for letting us be here today. I got to tell you, these chairs are the cushiest chairs we've ever had in any of these forums. So thank you, Taft. I'm running for mayor for the same reasons I ran for alderman, to make sure we have change. Now, my dad was an immigrant. My mother was born shortly after her parents got here, so they were both immigrants in a sense. You know, they taught me a couple of virtues. I grew up in the South Side, was born in the Roseland Hospital, and I grew up in Roseland and the Pullman neighborhoods. You know, I worked under Harold Washington to give me a fair idea of what we should do, and that's where I honed my trade as a civil rights lawyer. Representing the mayor, representing him on the big cases, representing the police department on big cases, and representing the city in labor contracts. You know, and on pension issues. I was very fortunate because at that point the law department was very small and we did everything. It's not as big as it is now. You know, my parents though, it was like on Sunday nights, we'd go to church, or I should say what a Sunday was. We would go to church in the morning. We'd visit the Italian grandmother first, and then we'd go see the Polish grandmother. When they got married, you know, the Polish and the Italian didn't really talk, so we had to make sure we didn't say anything, you know. But at night, our home turned into the United Nations. My mother spoke 7 languages. You know, my dad, his dad died. You know, Fioretti means little flower, because my grandfather was found in a field of little flowers, and he was raised in an orphanage. And so when my dad and my grandfather both came here, they taught me certain values. Among them, making sure you get a good education. You know, work hard, give back to your community. But on those Sunday nights, my mother, because of all those languages she spoke, translated letters from people coming in, Russian, Polish, German, Spanish, and she would write letters, translate them, and write letters back to the people. You know, I'm honored and privileged to be here. You know, on December 12th of this year, I was supposed to be in India, but I was campaigning for a wedding. This last year, because of who and what in the Indian community, and for the last 5 years, because of the extent of people that I represent from this community, both business-wide and in the courts, I see the discrimination. You may represent only 2% of the population, but boy, oh boy, you're the hardest working group in the whole city of Chicago. And I mean that. And the culture of entertainment, Bollywood, oh my goodness. You know, the June event that was up here with some of the best stars out of India was incredible. There's one coming up on March 29th, and I know there's another one from a younger one in April, both at the Sears. I'm looking forward to not telling you just my views, but hearing from you what the views should be. Thank you, everybody.
Next, we're going to have LaShawn Ford. Mr. Ford is a state representative for the past 12 years, and he represents Illinois' 8th district on the west side of Chicago. He is a former teacher and a real estate investor. Please welcome Representative Ford.
Well, I guess I could say good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am so happy to be here with, I would say, people that I have a lot in common with. We are people of color that the city of Chicago seems to forget about. And I'm running for mayor because what Chicago needs more than anything is inclusion of people of color in this city. We have such great culture, blacks, Indians, and everyone, to bring to a great city to make it the greatest city that it could be. And so we have a big pension problem, but what we have worse than anything is a city that really fails to include all people in its economy, in its culture. And as the mayor of the city of Chicago, I tell you, we will be friends. I will return. We will build this city together. It's not my idea, it's our ideas that's going to make this city great. It's going to bring black kids with the Indian kids, with the white kids, all kids together so that we can learn one another, so that we can learn one another's culture, so that we can have a city of Chicago that's united. Because Chicago is segregated, and it's not good for any of us. And so everyone in the city of Chicago must have a voice, and everyone will have a voice under a Ford's administration. I'm LaShawn Ford, and I'm a teacher also by profession. And we know that our schools in Chicago are segregated as well. That will change. Vote for Ford on February 26th, punch number 32. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we're going to have John Kozlar. Mr. Kozlar is an attorney with Aon. John Kozlar has previously run for alderman for the 11th Ward in 2011 and 2015. Mr. Kozlar?